Good morning. It's a beautiful day today. I hope Sunday morning is also beautiful. Welcome to this pre-recorded talk for Sunday morning. And we're looking at the Emmaus Road, a story that hopefully we all know particularly well, but it's there in the daily email for Sunday. Hopefully you've read it or heard someone reading it aloud, and it's about a journey. My word, what a journey we're on. What challenging times we live in, facing an unknown and invisible enemy called COVID-19, shutting down economies, schools, churches, daily life, isolating us in our own homes. It can feel very scary, can't it? Scary for many of us, not knowing when our businesses, our schools, our churches, our workplaces will be open again. Anxious and worrying times about ourselves and our loved ones who might catch the virus and the effect it might have. But what's great is we are being there for each other, often on the end of a phone or a WhatsApp group, sometimes buying, shopping and bringing it round at the doorstep and talking from a distance to each other as if across a river, and praying for God's strength for each other through this crisis. All of that is the wonderful stuff of the people of God being there for each other and their neighbours, being good neighbours to each other. It's good stuff. Well done. 1,000 thank yous for all that you are doing for each other, on the end of a phone, through a social media group, praying for each other, doing shopping for each other, just looking out for each other and your neighbours, the people on your street. Thank you. It's amazing, isn't it, when we see heroes like Captain Tom walking around that home, raising, at the last check, was it nearly £30,000 for extraordinary heroes in our NHS? Or was it 30 million? Raising money for our extraordinary heroes in our NHS and social care on the front line. At the same time, some of us having understandable questions about whether enough is being done to combat COVID-19, whether right decisions are being made. When will it end? When will the lockdown finish and how will it finish? Now, we don't actually know the answer to these questions. We have, thankfully, a number of outstanding scientists working with colleagues across the world, extraordinary public services and servants, and people in the public domain who keep asking very challenging questions of those making the decisions that affect us all. But today, as we look out over the beautiful scenery of spring growth, I want us to focus our attentions on the Emmaus Road story. There they are, those two disciples walking back to Emmaus. The story is the first of 3 resurrection appearances we find in Luke's Gospel. And these two men are travelling to Emmaus just a few days after the crucifixion of Jesus. They're walking and they're discussing the life of Jesus and how he may still be alive because his tomb's been found empty. But these two men, they're worried, they're anxious. They're not quite sure what to think of it. They're not quite sure what to do with it. As they're talking and walking, a third man joins them. They don't recognise the third man. The third man doesn't really tell them anything about himself. He listens to them, he's interested in them, and they share all their news with him. And when they get to where they're staying for the night, he's going to go on, but they invite him to stay. And they eat, they break bread, and as the man, the stranger, breaks bread, suddenly his identity is revealed. It's Jesus. Jesus then vanishes, and the two men quickly return to Jerusalem to proclaim that the Lord is risen. Now, there are many extraordinary aspects to this story. The journey, the anxiety, the two men leaving the place where the rest of the disciples are staying. They're not quite sure what to do, so we'll go back to what we know. We'll go back to Emmaus, that's where we've come from. and the sharing of the story between the two of them. But what's more extraordinary about this story on the journey is the third man, Jesus Christ, who doesn't reveal himself, who doesn't share anything of himself or have anything specific to say to them. He listens, he cares, he wants to know about them, he wants to know about their anxieties, he wants to know what's going on in their lives. He is an extraordinary Lord. One of the dangers in all of these biblical stories is we can reduce them to a story that happened 2,000 years ago. A story that doesn't include us, a story that isn't about us. Well, that's not true. These stories are about a living God whom we can experience and enjoy right here, right now, if we're willing to. And more than that, a living Lord who is walking with us right now, who is sitting with you right now, who is joining in this service that we're doing together right now, who wants to know more about you right now. And it's not that he doesn't already know everything about you, it's that he wants to hear it from you. He wants a relationship with you, a friendship with you, because he deeply cares about you. Let's consider more about this story, about these two men. Their anxiety, their hopes were dashed. The great dream of a Messiah was over. They remember what we call Palm Sunday. They definitely remember what we call Good Friday. And the empty tomb, what can it mean? Anxiety mixed with confusion and a lack of knowledge is a terrible mix. The followers of Jesus are now without a leader, and we can see them falling apart. These two on their way home already. What's left to do? Life obviously has to go on when life falls apart. Life must go on. But the reports that his tomb were empty had just confused them all the more. The two downtrodden disciples sum up the situation when they say in Luke's Gospel, "We had hoped he was the one who was going to redeem Israel." Our hope, human hope, can be such a fragile thing. When it withers away, it's really difficult to revive. There are times when it feels there's no way out, no matter how hard we try. During a crisis, during a lockdown, we can feel out of control and on edge. It's then we need to remember that we are on a journey. It's then we need to remember to stop trying, to be still, and to remember who it is who is with us right now, this second, wherever you are, wherever you're listening to this. Our Lord is with us right now, sitting beside us, walking alongside us, wherever we are, whatever we are doing. And why? Because he wants to spend time with us. Why? Because he wants to hear from us. He's waiting to hear about all the feelings in our hearts and all the thoughts in our head. He's interested and he cares deeply. He never leaves us and he never will. He is the same yesterday, he is the same today, and he is the same tomorrow, until the end of the world itself. This extraordinary journey we are on, through life itself, from the cradle to the grave, in relationships with our families and friends, those at home, our neighbours, our work colleagues, our church family. The journey that we're on through this crisis, this lockdown of COVID-19, is a journey that the Lord is on too. And as the psalmist says in 139, he knows it all. He knows a word before it's even upon our lips. He knows the past, the present, and the future. He knows all that was going to happen. Isn't it fascinating that as a prophetic church and as part of the New Wine tradition, I don't know of any church who prophetically heard about COVID-19. I have not yet heard of any Christian leader talking about a prophetic word that said what was going to happen. It fell upon all of us. What is the Lord doing with us during this time? The Lord knew this was going to happen, not as some kind of punishment, as a few have said, but as part of the brokenness of this world, that there are diseases, there are viruses, there are earthquakes, there are natural disasters. But the Lord knew that his people and his church would go through such a time as this. What does he call us to do together in such a time as this? Through our anxiety, through our worries, through our fears, to stop, to wait, to remember that it is the Lord that is with us through everything, through thick and thin. It is the Lord who is the same yesterday, today and tomorrow. It is the Lord who was there at the beginning of creation. It is the Lord who will be there at the end of days. And it is the Lord who is with us right now. It is to him that we need to look. It is the him that we need to spend time with. It is about him that we need to talk about and share our testimonies of how this time is going, of what we are going through thick and thin, through good times and bad. Stop. Be still. Wait. And remember who it is who is journeying with you. The Lord bless you. The Lord turn his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you now and forevermore. God bless.